Kyle. I'll be one of your co-hosts. I'm joined by my friend Rob Kowalski, CEO and co-founder of CityFam.
How's it going, everybody?
And our very special guest for today is Stephan Labossiere. Labossiere. I'm not fancy enough to get it right until the third time. I apologize. Stephan Labossiere is a man on a mission, and that mission is to make relationships happier and more fulfilling. As a certified relationship coach, a speaker, and author, Stephan seizes every opportunity to help both men and women overcome the challenges that hinder their relationships. Understanding the opposite sex, to navigating the paths and avoiding the pitfalls of relationships and self-growth, Stephan's relationship advice and insight helps countless individuals achieve an authentically amazing life. Stephan empowers millions to take charge of the difficult situations standing in the way of life and love they seek, and make an impactful change on a daily basis. Thank you so much for joining us here today. This is really exciting for us. So I've never met a relationship coach. I've always thought, man, they must walk into the room and everybody just like, the charisma just oozes out of them. You look very suave, man. just from the head to the floor, man.
And I'm he smells good too. I mean that the most no homo way. Yeah. You smell very good driving over here. So you're like the real life Hitch.
Yeah.
Kinda. Because Hitch was more like matchmaker.
Right.
And I don't do the matchmaking thing.
Okay.
You know, I'm more helping people resolve their issues, find ways to overcome certain obstacles. So yes, it's in the love relationship field, but to me, God is the matchmaker. I'm not the matchmaker. So I don't get involved in that part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this line of work? I'm so interested in you. I was trying my hardest not to ask questions on the way here because I'm like, I wanted to save it for the podcast, but I'm just dying to know all this stuff. So how did you get into this line of work?
Man, it was all God because I had no idea I'd be doing this. I got my degree in management information systems. So I'm IT.
Wow.
So I, growing up, hated writing papers. I would never want to speak in front of the classroom. Like, none of this stuff I'm doing now is...
That don't make any sense, man.
I'm telling you, like, it's crazy to me that I've written books and articles when I have failed classes because I didn't want to write a paper.
Right.
All right, that's how crazy it was. But literally, I went from having multiple businesses in Miami, real estate investment, computer repair, and when the real estate market crashed, I felt God was telling me to move to Georgia. And I didn't want to move to Georgia. My family was here, but I wanted to stay in Miami. I had a big house. I was doing well down there. But I just felt like God kept telling me I needed to go to Georgia. And then once I came here, I was surrounded by married couples. And they were all coming to me for advice. And so that led to the first book, How to Get a Woman to Have Sex with You If You're Her Husband, because all the husbands were complaining about a lack of sex. Mm-hmm. And it was just everything. It was just me praying and asking God, okay, what do you want me to do next? So it never was God saying, you're going to be a relationship coach. It was just write this book, do this thing.
Right.
Then it was get the certification. So it just snowballed from there, and then here I am.
That's amazing. That's such a cool journey. I can relate a lot to what you said. So I just finished a book as well, and never considered myself a writer. I actually.
Did you graduate high school?
No, I didn't. I got my GED, and I hate writing. I despise it. The process was super painful. But again,
I'm freaking bachelor's degree and no book.
Yeah, but that's a wild journey. So tell us about your new book, I guess.
So the latest book is The Man God Has for You, and it's just a book. Pretty much, it's the 7 traits for women to be mindful of when trying to determine their life partner. And it was something that actually started off as a free ebook. It was just a little short 10-page thing. But so many people were enjoying it and finding it beneficial. I was like, you know what, let me turn it into a full-length book. And so I did that, and it's been doing amazing. And people love it. Women have been getting a lot of help from it. And so, yeah, it's just another one of the pieces to the puzzle. That's the way I look at my books. All the books are just pieces to the puzzle.
Naturally, we don't want to read the whole, don't give away all your secrets. You got to pay for it, man. No doubt it's quality stuff. But of the 7, or maybe you can answer this a different way. What is a good, straight up front, she has encountered the man, what does she need to look for? Just one thing.
One thing that she needs to look for.
Just give us a nibble.
You know what? To me, the most important thing is connection. That there's a deep and genuine connection. I believe that the vast majority of relationships, marriages, do not have a connection, which is why we have a high divorce rate, which is why we have so much dysfunction, because people are choosing individuals based off of superficial needs and desires.
Amen.
And they're getting caught up in what they think they want and not understanding what they really need. And then you have individuals who aren't even being themselves with each other. So how can you connect to the fake you? You know, so it's two fake people trying to connect and make it work. And what happens is in marriage, once the smoke clears and the real people come out, they don't match together anymore. And now we're telling people to make it work and don't divorce. Yes, we don't want you to get divorced at the same time. You never belong together.
Right.
Because you don't have the connection. So to me, the most important thing, that's for man or woman, is to pay attention. Is there a genuine connection? Do you really like who this person is at their core?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it'll never work.
Yeah, and you know, I talk about that a lot. And if when you don't pump the brakes, because the average amount of dates that people go on now before having sex is 3. That's the national average. The 3-day rule is still in effect. So how well do you know somebody? I mean, I can pretend to be anyone for 3 days. You know, I'll be on my best behavior for 3 days. So like people get into these physical relationships and then you get a soul tie. You get you know, and if you're not a believer, then you basic oxytocin, it's biology.
Exactly.
You get connected to somebody and you don't even know who the person is, and now you know you're wondering why. Oh wait, hold on, they voted for who? Wait, they see the world. You know, you see the way they handle a situation. You're like, I didn't know they saw the world that way. And I believe in everything that you're saying. It's so important. Have you read the book The Wait?
I haven't read it.
Yeah,
I know about it. But
you know the concept though.
Yeah.
And I honestly, to be honest, I haven't read it either. I know enough about it. Basically, you know, kind of pumping the brakes and becoming the best version of yourself, so that you can bring that into a relationship. So, tell us about your love life. I'm just curious. I'm sure all the ladies are wondering what you know.
I cannot imagine that they're just like walking in the opposite direction. Like Rob says, you smell good, you look fly, you're doing well.
And believe it or not, that makes it 10 times harder.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Bigger pool to winnow.
So there's 2 ways to look at this. One, understand that the vast majority of the world is broken. When I say broken, I mean they're damaged from past experiences, they have not healed. We don't encourage getting help and healing enough, all right? So when you're an amazing guy and a woman meets you, they can admire you from afar. It's almost like a woman who, she sees a star celebrity and she's all fantasizing about him and she wants him, so on and so forth. But when she's in his presence, she clams up, doesn't know what to do with herself.
Right.
It's the same thing. It looks good from afar, but up close it's too vulnerable.
Wow.
It's too much. It's overwhelming. You start to question, why would he want me? You know, do I really deserve this? Is this really real? Because the woman is so conditioned to bad, dysfunctional men. It's hard for her to wrap her mind around this guy being this great. It's like, no, something has to be wrong, or I don't belong. It almost makes her lose herself. And so the average woman seeks to be in relationships where she can maintain emotional control. All right? Which is why women will choose guys who are, like I say it like this, women don't like to be with the number 1 guy on their list. Not a woman who hasn't healed. All right? She wants to be with number 2, number 3, number 4. Because they're good enough to be with, but they don't make her lose emotional control.
Right.
They don't make her feel overly vulnerable to where she can't handle the situation. So it's a more acceptable, it's an easier choice. So women like the safe choice.
Yeah.
Even though the safe choice is always the wrong choice. All right?
You're right.
And it's not going to work. It's never going to be what she wants it to be. But she feels a lot more at ease. So for me, I have experienced, I have countless stories of women who, when they got too close, ran. And then come back a year later saying, yeah, they were scared. They didn't know what to do. I have other men I've talked to who have acknowledged the same experience. Women, one guy told me one time, he was with a woman, and I think they were dating for, let's say, 3 months, or I don't know how long it was. And then they were intimate or whatever, and they wake up one morning, and she just says, I can't do this. This is too good to be true. I can't handle this anymore.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yes. Yes. So,
Golly, because that's crazy. Because anytime I've ever heard a circumstance like that, I just think, maybe it's my personal insecurity, but when I hear about a story of a woman who seems to be with what looks like a great guy, she's like, oh, she found somebody else. It's like, she found like I'm like 80% awesome. She's like, ooh, I found 82 or 92 or something like that. It's like time to frog leap over to the next guy. She's trying to
sometimes he's 60%.
She's trying to like eject her seat, bail out of the car.
And you see some hot women sometimes with some not so wonderful guys, and I was, I just thought they were funny or something.
No. It's easier for her. I know women. I know one woman that comes to mind right now. This woman is extremely beautiful. She was always a model and videos, all this different stuff, and she would purposely date down because she figured if I date a guy who's on a lower level than me, he'll appreciate me more. He'll value me more. So basically, I don't want the real good. Like I've had women say to me, I don't want to date the best looking guy in the room. That's too much to deal with. Right. All right. And that makes her feel too insecure. So it is easier to deal with the guy at a lower level that's not as good looking, maybe not as financially stable. It gives her more power and more at least it makes her feel like she's more powerful and more valued. But guess what? It still always ends up in a bad situation because that same woman still got cheated on.
That's, and sheesh. I think there's even a principle with men. Like when I was touring around and when I was, various times in my life, I would have rather have hooked up with a 7 or an 8 than sometimes more than a 9 or a 10, because the 9s or a 10 were super high maintenance and they were lazy in bed. You take home a 7 or 8 and they're really
working hard.
They're working hard. They're excited.
They got work ethic. They got character. They're willing to put themselves into it.
I'm not advocating that. Just so you guys know, my stance on sex.
But but it happens.
Yeah.
Like there are, whether people can articulate that or not, psychologically that happens all the time, and people do view it that way, and they do start to purposely target people at lower levels, so to speak, or less desirable people, because it's easier.
Yeah. So I talk about something about lust versus love, and when you don't have love, you have a pursuer and you have someone that's basically retreating, and the person that's pursuing, for them it's great, the relationship. So what you're talking about, the person that is the down person, they're the pursuer. It's great for them, but it's always peaks and valleys, because when it's good, it's amazing, but when it's bad, it's so bad because you're emotionally invested. For the person that's in control of the relationship, for them, they're bored all the time. And so it's safe, but it's kind of boring. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think initially they might not be boring initially because there's excitement of someone chasing after them like that. Still makes them feel good and it feeds their self-esteem. But yes, there's going to come a point where that's no longer exciting, and now you are bored, and now you're not challenged in the situation. It doesn't push you to higher levels, and you just don't have that same desire for that individual, So definitely it will get to a bored stage, so to speak.
So about the challenge of not dating too high up the chain, that plays into one of the mottos I found on your website: individuals achieve an authentically amazing life and not pretending to be somebody. And I guess finding like meets like, the two kind of are magnetized, and two inauthentic people will kind of move across the dance floor towards each other. Unless you don't agree with that, you're the expert here. I'm not. I'm serious.
No, I do think, so you know how they say real recognizes real? Why I say fake always falls for fake. All right, so people who don't know themselves are going to fall for people who don't know themselves. Plain and simple. Now, don't get me wrong, those people still want the genuine person as well. But yes, a lot of times, if you have a dysfunctional relationship, it is not likely that it's just a one-sided dysfunction. There's two sides to it. The other person may not see their own dysfunction, but trust me, there's something on their side that is making them fake, so to speak. We're not allowing them to be their real self, and that's why they even got caught up with this individual and weren't able to recognize something was wrong here and walk away from it.
Yeah, because I totally agree with that. Having been on a journey myself of self-discovery, where it's pretty easy to spot when you get to a point where you're not thirsty. You become the best version of yourself, and if something's off, it's pretty easy to spot. How do you feel about online dating? Just curious.
I think it's fine. I tell my clients and everybody I talk to, online dating is for the purpose of meeting people conveniently. That's it, and it does that. But the problem is people don't know how to effectively online date. So like I look at some of these women's profiles and they're horrible. And it's like, you can't successfully make anything happen here with this horrible setup. And a lot of people who are online dating are very lukewarm in the process. They're not fully invested in making this work. It's almost like, well, I'm going to try it because I'm bored, or I'm trying it because my friends encourage me to. But you're not really diving into it and saying, okay, how can I make my profile better? What can I do? Being consistent with checking your messages, going on the profile. They're not doing that. So it's not, online dating to me is not the problem. It's the approach we take to it that's the problem. Because the same people you meet online is the same people you meet in real life.
That's true. So what are the biggest mistakes you see on the profiles?
So a couple things I tell people. One, for the women, they don't smile on their profile picture. All right? And there's a study that shows women are more attractive when they smile. So it's a much more inviting thing when a woman is smiling.
It's probably both ways, right?
Actually, they say men are more attractive when we don't smile.
Smolder.
Believe it or not.
Smolder.
Nah, yeah. Now, I'm not going to tell men don't smile in general.
It's more masculine.
Yes, exactly.
How are you?
So men, it's not as important for men to do that. But for the women, smiling, not having enough pictures in their picture gallery, people don't want to get catfished. And so you having one picture on there,
right?
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Not showing all of themselves. Because again, people are very cautious online. So if we don't get a full view of who you are, your whole body and everything, we're going to be hesitant.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to be as likely because we're choosing you between all these other profiles. You have to stand out.
Yeah.
So, there's that. There's the way they're putting their descriptions. And I think one of the most important things for men and women to know what online dating is, present your value, not what you want. See, people go in their description and they say, I want this, I'm looking for that, boom, boom, boom.
It's so annoying.
Exactly.
I tried it, man. It's awful. It's like,
what do you bring to the table? What makes you the person I should reach out to?
Yes.
They're not thinking like that. And so that's why they're not getting as much messages. But I guarantee you change the tone of your description and make it about selling your value, watch how many more messages you start to get.
I also want to segue into a question about should employers do the same thing on their job postings? Like, you gotta have this, 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 this. Like, well, I'm not tall enough, my car's not fast enough, my house isn't big enough, so obviously I'm not gonna roll with this one. I have a question about dating applications. So your profile is how you present yourself. Would the dating app or website be kind of like the room you're in, and there's all these other people here? And you come into it lukewarm, it's like, why did you come out if you didn't really want to try to talk to people?
Mm-hmm.
So how long is one of the problems with a website or an app is that people are messaging way too long. Like, you just stay in the room. You're not like, let's go and just interact together, just you and I.
Well, you know what? I think the problem with the dating app is that it's too convenient. And because it's too convenient, it allows the slackers to jump in, the people who aren't serious to engage, and that's why they had no intention of leaving the room. All right,
the effort was in the presentation.
Well, regardless, because there's a study that shows that like Tinder, for example, there was a study that shows that the vast majority on Tinder are only there to boost their ego. They're not on there to actually go on a date.
It works.
So they have no interest in taking the conversation past the chat. They're just there to pass time, entertain themselves,
collect matches.
Exactly.
Look at all these people
who
who would go
themselves.
out.
Exactly. That's it. That's the reason why it's not moving from the app to anything more serious.
And the other thing, I've never online dated. Not that I think there's anything wrong with it. I just feel like it's a bad strategy for finding love because it's all based on how you look. And, I talked a little bit about how physical attraction fades when you don't connect on a deep level, which you basically just said. But I think with especially sites like Tinder, you get a lot of people that are like lazy or, and guys, they're on there just looking to hook up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And women are not all of them say there's no women looking to hook up, but a lot of women are looking for a relationship.
Oh, and
hook up. The way the culture's set up now, it's basically, it's just the norm. It's expected for you to hook up. At some very few people wait anymore. And when you get that those two dynamics, in the same place, it's just a recipe for disaster because it's like, nobody's really getting what they're looking for, which is, I believe, a deep connection. So, I don't know, I heard a story not long ago about someone, I think they basically got laid by just using emojis. They didn't even reply like with words. They just used emojis, and they were able to have sex with the person that they met online. I'm like, that's what our society has become. It's crazy.
He literally played push the button with someone else's emotions with a smiley face.
I thank God
This, like that, not that. This one.
Tinder wasn't around when I was in the game, because I would have worked that
Right.
so bad. I would have taken it. I would have used it. But so what? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's a question I thought I wanted to ask.
You know, I have no idea. I'll be completely honest. I never think that far ahead, and so I don't know. The only thing I can think of is a lot more books, a bigger platform, probably doing a lot more internationally. But other than that, I don't really have a focused vision on where I'll be in 5 years. Because I guess I don't get caught up into my own vision. I just keep asking God, what does He want to do next? Right. And that's the reason why. Because to me, we can come up with this whole grand idea of what we're going to do, what we're going to be, but who knows what He's going to tell me to do next? It may be a complete left turn that I'm not expecting. Mm-hmm. So I don't set myself up to
That's great being that flexible.
I'm just ready for whatever He says and just go with the flow.
You want to be married?
Absolutely.
Kids?
Yes.
Probably get that question quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. So hopefully, yes. Hopefully in 5 years that is already done, and I have that on my resume. But
and no prospects out there.
Oh, come on, man. Somebody's watching this right now, like, he's gonna say it. He's finally gonna say
You better say my name.
I mean, there's been a situation.
saying Mambo number 5 all of a sudden.
But gotta leave it in God's hands.
Okay.
Things don't always go the way we want.
We're gonna play dodgeball. We just dodge it. So one of the things I really love about, I love that you keep it real. I was listening to some previous interviews, podcast interviews you did, and you talk about men being visual, and so you come at this this whole thing with you're a Christian, you have a Christian perspective, but you're also like, this is reality. Like, men are visual, and I love that you make it practical. So, I don't know, just talk a little bit about that. Like, if there's any women out there, what advice would you give to a woman that was, maybe dating, looking to get married, or looking to find a man?
First in regards to the practical part, like I said, when you were telling me your story in the car, I'm like, man, this sounds a lot like me. My past is completely different than where I'm at now. I used to promote clubs. Used to be running these streets, living a completely different. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've never said this on any interview, but once upon a time, I was even a promoter of open marriage.
Wow.
All right? I had a completely different perspective of things.
Amazing.
And, even though I believed in God, I was not spiritual at that time. I had not accepted Jesus. Those things weren't in place. But so I think because I've lived that life, and now that I'm here, I understand that. Like, I remember when people used to come to me with the Bible and say, don't have sex. I'm like, get out of my face with that.
Right.
My logic was, if it feels good afterwards, how could it be a sin?
Exactly.
All right? So to me, that's how I would deflect that issue. And so I've just come to realize that I can't come from the spiritual standpoint to everyone if I'm going to have them receive the message.
Right.
My goal isn't to, I feel like some people want to speak just to sound smart. Some people want to speak just to sound righteous and holy. No, I want to speak to help you understand what you need to understand. And sometimes it's going to require baby steps. It's going to require a more practical approach. Some people, I may not even interject the spiritual part for a while. Yeah. And I'm just going to speak strict practical with you until you get to a place that now you can handle the spiritual aspect. Because I think some people try to force and rush God down people's throats. They're not ready for that yet. I know I wasn't ready for that yet.
Yeah.
You could not get through to me for a long time about spirituality and God, but then a breaking point occurred and things start to change, and now, yes, I can receive it, but everyone has their own process.
Yeah.
And so we have to be mindful of that if the real goal is to help people.
Yeah.
So I try to be flexible with whoever I'm speaking to, but if I recognize you are spiritual, then I can go straight to spiritual.
Yeah.
And if you're not, I would then wait on that. So that's why I try to interject practical and spiritual, and also because I'm a firm believer that everything spiritual biblically can be exactly. If you break it down correctly,
100%.
there is a complete practical application to it. It's just that people don't understand it. So when God says don't have sex before marriage, it isn't just some vague instruction. There's a reason for that. Let's not break down the reason. So that's why I think, yes, we can have both, practical and spiritual. But again, some people need it served to them in different ways and slowly, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you're saying. Yeah, I try to explain it practically because I didn't understand the concept at all myself. You know, I used to say, if it feels good, do it. Yeah. And that's how I lived my life. I lived it completely like that. And I did not understand the concept of waiting when I first started out. I just was really doing it for selfish purposes. I thought God would send me a wife. And it was only after time that I really started to understand it. And now, again, I believe that I can explain it maybe more practically than anyone. That's probably outside. You're really sharp. But no, I mean, and some things you can really only understand when you've lived on the other side. Some people say to me, like, how can you tell people, you know, don't have casual sex, or you know, all these different things you've done? I'm like, how quickly would you listen to a guy that was a virgin tell you you shouldn't have casual, you know, or have sex? You'd be like, get the hell out of here, right? What the hell do you know? You haven't even got me, you know. So it's almost like a drug addict. Like you can't. I don't think you can. I've heard that there's certain heroin addiction centers where you can't be a counselor unless you've had that addiction yourself, because there's just things that you can't speak to. Yeah. So I definitely see value in that when you come from that other side. But that's wild. So you used to promote, huh?
Yeah, a lot of clubs.
Yeah, that's a crazy.
And to a lot of house parties.
Another experience you had that I haven't had that I ask questions about is, it seems to be a new phenomenon going on in our culture to pursue polyamory, an open relationship with people, not just in like the hookup culture and the young cats in high school and college and post-grad circles where they're like, I want to date somebody, but I don't want to lock it down. I still want to see, you know, him and her and her and him and her. Also, later on in marriage, when people feel like the fire is dying, they think, well, let's spice it up. Yeah. Is it the same problem, just at a different stage in life?
No, I view it as two different problems. Well, it can be the same problem, but here's my initial thought. The polyamory before marriage, because I know where my mind was when I used to believe in open marriage. Your thinking is that no one person can fulfill you. Right. So what is the purpose of locking myself down to one person? Why leave that void in my life? Let me allow myself to venture out and be with different people and enjoy myself. But let that person fall in love, and I guarantee you everything changes.
Yes.
All right? When you find that one individual that you truly feel like is the one, everything, like we've seen guys who were players, all right, run these streets and meet that one woman and want to drop everybody for that one woman. It happens, and it's not some, people love to make you think it's some kind of societal programming that has caused us to want to be monogamous. No, it is a natural thing that once we connect with someone that we have this high desire for, we lock in, and we only want them, and we have tunnel vision. Now, I always tell people, our problem isn't monogamy, it's our ability to maintain monogamy. So, going to the married couple, when they reach that point that the fire is gone, 9 times out of 10, I can almost guarantee you what's really happened is they lost attraction to each other. Because we let ourselves go, things change. So even though, yes, I'm a big, I talk about connection and the importance of connection, and that is the most important thing. I do also tell people about keeping yourself up physically and being mindful of your appearance, because at the end of the day, physical attraction is the missing ingredient that takes a relationship from platonic to romantic. Once you remove physical attraction, you're not lovers anymore. You're friends, you're roommates. You see, so what happens is these people let themselves go, and not just physically, also in how they treat each other. You'll hear wives say, well, he doesn't take me out anymore. He doesn't do the things he did in the beginning. To the man, now he doesn't say to people, she doesn't look the way that she looks like before, because you're going to get smashed for that, all right? And people are going to be talking to you that you're shallow and all these things, but he's thinking it. Sure. He's thinking it. Yeah. And that's playing into why it's not maintaining the person we fell in love with that leads to the fire being gone, and leads to why we can't maintain the monogamy. But if we maintain that person, and it is possible to maintain that person, and granted, yes, looks do fade, but attraction can last forever. There are ways to still maintain attraction, because there's a difference between aging and letting yourself go.
Yeah, I want to say one thing to that. So, there's a chapter that I fleshed out in my book, and it talks about physical attraction fading. So, I've been fortunate enough to date some really beautiful women in my life, and we always had sex early. We always had sex within usually the first date, sometimes a couple of dates, but I would always lose interest. I would always get to the point sooner or later, and it didn't usually even take that long, a couple months, where I just wanted to go to sleep every night. I was still attracted to other women, but I wasn't attracted to this beautiful girl in my bed. And we would get into arguments even about it. And what I realized was, I started asking myself the same questions basically that you're saying, where like, are humans meant to be monogamous? And maybe I'm not built that way or whatever. But it wasn't that. It was my pattern of always getting into relationships without really getting to know them, getting physical without getting to know them. And I always use the scenario, like we've all been in this situation 1,000 times where, imagine you meet someone and you're like, ooh, they're hot, right? When you first meet them. And then for whatever reason, you guys don't date, a couple weeks go by, and then you look at them and you go, you can still see they're attractive, but you go, yeah, not for me though. You know what I mean? We've all been in that situation 1,000 times because you break through that surface level to find out who lived inside that tent, and you can realize that there's not something. You can see that they're attractive. Maybe you would have rolled in the hay with them or whatever.
There's no substance there.
But there's nothing else there, and that's how people get into these relationships with the wrong people all the time. And I don't even know that it matters how good that person looks, because they can keep up with our appearance, but when you don't connect on a deep level, that goes away.
So look at it. You got to combine what you just said with what we were saying earlier with the connection. So I look at it like the connection is the main foundation. All right. So you're right. Without the connection, the looks cannot hold that relationship up.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they fall off, don't fall off. It will not last without connection. So you have connection. Let's say that's already set. We have this amazing connection. In that, when we have amazing connection, 9 out of 10 we have an attraction as well. All right. Now, granted, there's going to be some deviation. We're all going to change. We're all going to age. That happens. But some people aren't just deviating, they're transforming, all right? And who they're transforming into is a person you would have never even entertained if that's what the way they looked from the beginning.
Yeah.
So my thing is there's a line that gets crossed that now the attraction does affect our ability to want to be in a relationship with this person. You see, because you're going to always still love them. When you have a connection with somebody, you will always love that person. People can go 10, 20 years without talking. They see each other again, it's like they never stop talking.
Right.
All the feelings rush right back. Those people have a connection. So you can't destroy that. That doesn't change anything. But the attraction piece is for the sake of being able to maintain a committed, serious relationship. So if we don't have both, that's not going to work. Because again, if we just have connection, we can be great friends.
Right.
But will we want to be in a relationship with each other? Because in a relationship, we have to be intimate with each other. We have to respect each other. When physical attraction is not there, people start respecting less. They start being less intimate. They start being less transparent. All these things start to fall to the wayside because we're not as drawn to the individual as we once were. So it's a combined thing. There has to be, both has to be there.
So the wait, we talked about, waiting for this right person, and I got a quote here that I wanted to read. It says, "Don't let feeling lonely push you into the arms of a person who will make you miserable." So what advice do you give people that are feeling lonely? Because I went through a long period of waiting myself, and how do you prevent being thirsty? I mean, what do you think? Seriously, because it doesn't sound like maybe you dated as much as maybe some of our listeners would imagine. How do you navigate that? Because the wait can be really hard.
It can. So, just like you, I remember my first initial stage of being abstinent, and it was just like you said, lock myself in the house, wouldn't go anywhere, didn't know who I could hang out with. And like I said, you're so obsessed with trying to stay out of trouble, but you didn't want to go nowhere. And I'll never forget, one time I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to let myself go out. Maybe I'm being too strict. This is ridiculous. It was somebody's birthday at a club. I said, let me go. I go there, and that night, there was an engaged woman trying to get me to come back to the hotel room. And there was another woman I used to sleep with trying to get me to sleep with her again. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the minute I step out of this house, the devil world is not trying to get me. Yeah. I was like, I'm going home. I'm not coming out again. I'm done. This can't work. So I know how difficult it can be. Now, as far as trying to fight through the loneliness, you know, some of it is just being mentally strong and just programming ourselves and reminding ourselves that we're doing this for a greater purpose and that we have to stay on the right track. But I think finding hobbies, finding ways to grow ourselves. Like even recently, I'm about to enroll in Tai Chi. You know, so I'm about to do things that I guarantee you, if you sit down and really go within yourself, you can find the things that you actually liked that maybe you just felt maybe was stupid or silly or, I won't do that, I'll put it to the side. But there's plenty of things you can start doing to start occupying your time, and not for the sake of just being busy. So I'm not going to do Tai Chi just to be busy. It's to improve my body, it's to improve my mind, it's to improve my flexibility, all these different benefits. So I look for things that can help me grow as an individual. And so I think just continuously exploring different ways to improve ourselves, to evolve as an individual, that will help make the loneliness less. Yeah. And then I do think, when possible, finding friends of like minds. You know, that's gonna really help because again,
you are who you hang out with.
Exactly.
Hashtag City Fam. Creating friends with better benefits.
Yeah, you know, I think that helps a lot. And I know that's not always easy, especially I think for men it's very difficult. Because once we get into that mindset, like you saw when you became abstinent, it's not a bunch of friends. Like, especially when you just came out of the world of running the streets and doing your thing, you're not going to be surrounded by a bunch of abstinent guys or guys who even understand what you're trying to do. So it creates this huge conflict to where, okay, where do I go? And then like you said, because it was so funny when you said, so you were trying to go to these church things, but you didn't feel like you connected with the church people, right? And I literally said that 2 nights ago to somebody, how, yeah, you know, it'd be nice to have a lot of guy friends, but you feel like you don't connect with certain people. Yeah. And you connect more with the people that you used to run the streets with. So 100%. You're trying to find this middle ground of, okay, how do I get the influences I need, but the kind of connections that I'm comfortable with?
Yeah, how? How do you do that?
I think we're launching a new City Fam chapter in Atlanta. Yes! That's the new director right here, Stephan Labossiere. That's awesome, man. Gosh.
Yeah, the environment you run with, because maybe you wouldn't be able to do Tai Chi with your buddies that you used to roll with before, and you certainly wouldn't be able to pursue a meaningful relationship with those folks either, like in either story here. You said something interesting that I've been really trying to remember. A mismatch of priorities when you said the young people don't believe they can find that one person that's going to fulfill them, and I think you know on multiple levels, but I'd like to talk about it at a practical level. That's true. You won't find a person who will fulfill you. It's not that person's duty to be your fulfillment.
Yeah, so you're right. I don't think any one person can truly fulfill us. We have to fulfill ourselves. We have to have a relationship with God. You know, these are things that truly make us who we are. But I do think that there is that person that everyone meets that you experience this amazing connection with, that you feel like, I don't need anything past this. This is enough for me. So fulfilled in that sense to where they knock off they check off the boxes of what you need to be happy and satisfied and fulfilled in a relationship. Right. So relationship fulfillment, I think, can be achieved with one person, but a lot of people do not think that can happen with one person. And the reality is that most people meet that individual. The problem is they're too busy caught up in other bad situations. You know, so whether it's they haven't healed, so they run away from it, whether it's you're in the wrong relationship, so now this amazing person comes along. I even had one situation where somebody emailed me saying, oh, help me, I need help. I said, what's wrong? She said, I'm in love with my best friend. I said, what's the problem? He just got married 2 weeks ago. It gets better. And she said after that, they had a conversation, and it turns out he's in love with her too. And they feel like they're soulmates. Wow. But they never told each other because they thought the other one didn't have feelings for the other, and they didn't want to ruin the friendship, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, God.
So now, 2 weeks into his marriage, they've come to this realization that they're madly in love with each other and don't know what to do.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves said it best. Don't wait. Tell her how you feel, because you may not get that opportunity again.
Yeah.
I like something that you said in regards to going back to the Tai Chi thing, and it's something that I read in a book called Think and Grow Rich, where they talk about sex transmutation. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's like when I, from a personal level, when I stopped chasing tail, you know what I mean? I took that energy that I used to use, all that sexual energy, and I put it into myself, like you said. And what it helped me to do was, become the best version of myself. Started a nonprofit. I got, did relief trips and volunteered and read a bunch of books. And, the reason that I wrote the book is because of all that. And it would have never happened because I used to take that energy and put it into something that was fun in the moment, but didn't produce anything lasting. So it really kind of, everything you're saying really supports that.
Yeah, and I tell men, the men who will listen, try abstinence and try with a focus of accomplishing things. And I dare you to tell me that after you're done, you didn't find yourself more productive.
Right.
That you have not found yourself in a better position. So it definitely, when you take that sexual energy and put it into other things, you will definitely see a huge difference and a huge benefit. But I think a lot of people don't, it's, again, if we think back to where we were when we were running the streets, you couldn't pay me to be abstinent. It was like, hell no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no way I will ever go long without sex. I could not even fathom that idea.
Yes.
And then here I am, all these multiple runs at abstinence. Like, but you don't know the benefit until you finally start to go through the process.
When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. So when I was a boy, and I think about that verse with myself is because I acted like a boy because I didn't know better. So that's good.
I wanted to plug in something for folks in my generation that are so affectionately referred to as millennials. Man, we didn't pick the word. It's not like we're the first young generation to exist, but there are definitely different things. And I'm wondering, and I know you're a parent, but I'm not going to walk you too far outside your lane. Is there a problem with the way we're talked to about getting a relationship from the get-go, and that's why we think not just relationships, but everything has to make me become, and there's, like you said earlier, no one's looking in. No one's looking in and thinking, what can I do to contribute to people? Same thing with the Tinder profile. What can I write? It's like, I have these amazing things that I'm trying to live out in my life instead of 6'2" Mercedes, 8 units of measurement. Not to get the nose on the head too hard. But
I heard a quote that you I actually tweeted it after I heard it. It says you might not have to lower your expectations, but you might have to raise your qualifications.
Yeah.
And I've had friends that they didn't that rang so true because I knew people that they want something, but they're not willing to be that something. Mm-hmm. And there's a quote that my pastor had mentioned before. It said, "Are you the person you're looking for is looking for?" Because we all automatically are looking for a certain type of person, but we're not willing to become that type of person that person would be looking for, therefore we never get them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to get frustrated by that kind of talk because I thought, how am I supposed to know what I want? It's like, be the person who you want. But if you're just wise enough to figure out, oh, I don't know who I want, and then the next is, oh, I don't know who I am, what the hell do you do?
Well, you know what? You start with the basic stuff. So it's like, okay, you may not know who you are or what you want in the sense of the very specifics of that person. But you want to be respected. You want to be loved. You want to be valued. You want to be considered. These are things you want from somebody in a relationship. So you have to give that. You want someone who's going to be clear and transparent with you, will be clear and transparent with them. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with people is that they'll say, oh, well, men don't know how to communicate. But women are some of the most horrible communicators on earth. All right?
One hand laws, I don't care.
You're saying stuff, but you're not clear. You're not being transparent. Or people will say, oh, well, they lied about this, but you've been lying about this. Like, we're not giving what we want in return in the relationship. So I always say start with the basic stuff. Honesty, being compassionate, being patient, being kind. Because we all know we want that.
Because everybody says, you weren't reading the signs. You got a voice, don't you?
Exactly.
Like, not saying it is the same thing as kind of lying.
Well, the thing with women is that women pick up on signs. Women pick up on every small detail. You sneeze different, she knows it's different. All right? It's like there's nothing that gets past her. So in her mind, why can't you see the signs like she sees it? Why can't you see the hints like she sees it? Because that's how she processes things. So she doesn't feel like she has to be so clear, so to speak, and specific, because she doesn't need your specifics to figure things out. And that's why we have a very huge disconnect with communication in that way. But I do tell women, like, listen, be more specific with men, but I still encourage men, yes, learn to pay attention to other quote-unquote signs or things that show you something's wrong. So it's like, if you ask her what's wrong with you, if you ask her what's wrong today, and she says nothing, but you can see her body is telling you something's wrong, then be smart. You know something's wrong.
Pursue.
Even if you don't want to pursue it, you can say, you know what, it does look like something's wrong, but if you don't want to talk about it right now, fine, when you're ready, I'm here for you. Boom. So at least you're showing you recognize and you know her well enough to see that she is upset, and you're not buying into her just saying, I'm okay, when you can see there's something going on.
So bad that I'm thinking about this, like, yeah, that's a good way to cover my ass. No, I was listening this time. Yeah.
So, we just got to be mindful of that.
Let me ask you a couple, 3 personal questions. Nothing too serious. What's your favorite movie?
The movie that just came to mind first is Heat.
Heat?
Yeah.
Al Pacino
Yeah.
and who is it?
Al Pacino,
Robert De Niro.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know why, but man, when I saw that movie, I just thought it was so amazing.
That movie's wild, man. Out in the open and just shooting up the place.
And then, if you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, if I could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would it be? Jesus.
That's always my answer. Trump card, bam. Out of the box? I mean, come on.
Let me ask you a different question. A different version of that question. If you could go on a date with anybody that you don't know personally, I'm gonna help you out a little bit.
You can be listening.
With anybody that you do not know personally,
Hopefully living, not dead.
living or dead.
Okay.
Let's say you can time travel.
All right.
You don't know them personally. Who would that be?
And when we say date, are we saying date for romantic purposes, or we're saying just
Yeah, just
date
like
to...
on the hunch that like maybe you could get to know them and it'd be like,
That's a tough one.
yeah, I never heard this one before.
See, if it was just for any purpose, I was gonna say Oprah.
Oh,
all right.
sure.
So simply to pick her brain, get to know her.
Sure.
Like,
She can
So
pay.
that'd be like Jesus. That'd be more like dinner, but she would be a second to Jesus.
Yeah.
That's it. I always trip when people don't say Jesus. I'm like, they're like my grandfather. I'm like, really? Like, I mean, I'm sure he was great, but like,
Yeah, right.
This is like God in a bod. Personally, and I would want to kind of pick his brain a little
Yeah,
bit.
to me, that's like the best choice. I just,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. But as far as romantically picking a woman, I can't think of anybody.
Cleopatra.
Yeah, I don't even know. That's a tough question. I don't even know how I would answer that. I mean, automatically I go to someone in the past because I'm thinking, well,
Can't know.
you know, like because nobody else can do
Trying
that.
to help you out.
Marilyn Monroe, like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm trying to help you out. Don't pick somebody you know because then it's like controversy.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I'll send it by next time.
Okay. Well, let's ask. Tell us about the worst date you've ever been on.
The worst date I've ever been on. Okay, so this wasn't a date, but it was a woman. I was working at this call center, and we went out to lunch together. All right. So maybe it was, you could call it a date. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know why this one came to mind, but anyways, we get back to the call center. We're in the parking lot. And she's like, I need to go to the bathroom. And so when we were chilling together, it was fine, right? When we get back, she's like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, all right, well, go inside. Oh, no, I can't wait. So I'm thinking she's going to find a bush to go pee on, right? No, this woman squats right next to my car, door open, and starts peeing. And I was just like, oh my God.
Then you can hear it. You're like,
Yes, and you can hear it. And I'm done. I was like, oh, I never reached out to her again.
Even if there was a chance,
yeah,
that chance is over now.
That
was
is
a
something
wrap.
that you should definitely not do on a first date.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's too much too soon.
Yeah, I mean, and my thing is fine. You need to pee. Pee on the bush. Go find somewhere. Right next to my car. Or shut the door. Yes, that would have helped. shut the door.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that was what came to mind when you asked me that question.
Good Lord. I'm going to let you shameless plug just a little bit and just quickly go through your awesome books. So, how to get a woman to have sex with you if you're her husband. So what would you offer young men who are already satisfied with their ability to get with women that are not married? Like, how can that book speak to the single?
Well, a lot of men don't realize that they're not as good in bed as they think they are.
Wow.
Right? And that's not to be mean or make anybody feel some kind of way.
Shots fired.
I'm trying to be honest here. You know, there's a lot of lying going on. A lot of women are acting like they're being pleasured when they're really not. And so I think for men, they have to, and men and women, humble yourselves and understand that no matter how good you think you are, I still want you to be confident when it comes to intimacy, but have a mindset that says, I'm always willing to learn and get better, and not just think I'm so awesome and I have nothing else to add to my plate here. And so with that book, I think it just helps them understand. It also helps men understand that there's more to the sexual interaction with a woman if we plan to be in a long-term relationship. Because I do think that when you're running the streets and you're having casual sex, you start to actually think that these women are like us. Meaning, okay, they just want sex, that's it, they're just horny, that's it. It can be that simple in casual situations. But once we get into a long-term situation, her emotions and where her mind is at plays a huge role in her being sexually receptive to you. And by that time, men don't understand that concept. So now when his wife doesn't want to have sex, it's like, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Or you just don't like sex anymore? No, she still loves sex, but mentally she's in the wrong place. Emotionally, maybe you've mistreated her, you don't make her feel secure. There's other issues contributing to it. And so the book, I think, will help men understand there's a lot more to this than you realize. Yeah. And even if, not that we're trying to promote them having sex while they're single, but even if you want to continue to be that single man on the streets, knowing that information would make you a much better man with your dealings with women and your sexual dealings, so to speak.
My pastor and his wife say, they say women are like a slow cooker, men are more like a microwave.
Yes.
So if you want to get something out of that slow cooker, you gotta put something in it, and you gotta wait a while, like, because it takes time to percolate and simmer. But
in the book, I actually say men are like the light switches that you just flip up and down, and women are like dimmers. All right, so you gotta slowly move it up, and it slowly brightens up. But a man, you can just flip that switch, and we're ready to go.
It's on.
You know, that's it.
Yeah, that's a great segue to the next book, He Who Finds a Wife. And the slogan on your website says, "Men want love too!" exclamation point. And the fact that there's even an exclamation point really pointedly describes the situation. Nobody's really taking that into consideration. Men want love. Some men don't think they want love. Most women think that men don't want love. They're just like, well, you just want sex. He thinks, well, I just want sex. But then you end up unfulfilled. Mm-hmm. So is this book trying to walk a man through, look, you've tried it your way. Let's grow up a little bit?
To a certain extent, yeah. It's breaking down what he needs to be mindful of if he does want to have that amazing relationship. And I think speaking to things that men just don't get spoken to about in a lot of situations, and about healing, and about, even being the leader in your relationship and all these different things. So it definitely is trying to help men. But the amazing thing is the women who read it get a lot of help from it too. Because one, they end up saying, wow, I never realized this is what men are going through. I never realized how men feel. And they're also able to figure some things out by themselves. Because there's a huge, not only do women not realize men want love too, they swear we don't have feelings. All right? And so they're not as mindful about things because they don't think we hurt like they hurt. And that's not true. We're just not as vocal about our hurt as they're hurt. Because when a woman hurts, she gets consoled, she gets sympathy, she gets people rallying around her. When a man vocalizes his hurt, it's, what did you do? What's wrong with you? Suck it up, you're being a sucker, blah, 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 blah. We don't get the comfort that they get. So we're not as vocal about it.
That's why when a man, T.D. Jakes said, when a man is really dealing with something, he's very bothered by something, this is what he'll say. Nothing. He'll go inside his cave and try to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, what's wrong with him? He's not talking to me. He doesn't have feelings. Like, Come on, you think somebody just clams up for no reason?
Mm-hmm.
That's harsh. It seems like in your I don't know if I got these in chronological order or not, but the next book, The Man God Has for You.
That's actually the last book.
That's actually the last one. Yeah.
Okay.
Where's My Boaz is the third book in?
So actually, it was the sex book, God Where's My Boaz, He Who Finds a Wife, then The Man God Has.
So you do guy, girl, typically?
Typically, yeah. So,
Good approach. Good approach.
Yeah. So you want to talk about God Where's My Boaz, which is, you told me in the car, is the best selling?
yeah, so that's the best-selling one. So, quick funny story. Number one, I never planned on even writing spiritual books or books that had any kind of spiritual tone to them. At the time, I was going to write a book called That's the Problem with Single Women.
Single women.
Yeah.
What did the transition happen there?
So what happened was I was going to write that book, but again, like I said, I hate writing, and so I had my usual writer's block, and I wasn't getting it done. And then I had a month. It was, I think, May 2013. Everything went wrong. I had a complete meltdown. I was going to quit. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I was dead broke. This is just not working. And I said, before I do that, let me pray and ask God what to do. And he told me to write the God Where's My Boaz book. At the time, it was the reason why you haven't found a good man or a good woman. That was the original premise. And then it turned into God Where's My Man, and then it turned into God Where's My Boaz.
That's perfect.
And so, at the time, I didn't even think it would be anything big. I just thought, okay, you know what, God told me to do it, fine. I even told my editor, listen, this makes me an extra $200 a month. All right, cool. All right, she still clowns me about that. Like, do you remember what you said to me? And that book has been ridiculously successful and has opened ridiculous doors. So that's one of the reasons I'm so adamant about, I don't write what I want to write. I write whatever God tells me to write. Because what I want to write is not going to be what it needs to be compared to what he wants me to write. So with Boaz, after that, it was just, but once I started writing it and I started putting it out there, I started to understand why it needed to be written. And even the whole Boaz part, like I said, it was originally God Where's My Man. And one day I was speaking to an event coordinator, and she was like, okay, so which book are you going to be promoting while you're at the event? And for some reason, I said, God Where's My Boaz?
You just spat it out.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that.
That's elevating your writing right there. From an intellectual standpoint, if you can use an archetype that people can go, who is Boaz? Look at his life. That he embodies all the things you want to say. All you got to say is Boaz. Mm-hmm. And then you just got... That explains the whole book right there. You don't even need
he
like
was a
the
good
blurb.
man. He was a godly man. I love the video. If you don't, you might get his cousin.
Yeah.
His distant cousin beating your ass.
Yeah.
No, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So it all came together, and I just put it out there. And it's been successful.
So when is God Where's My Roof coming out?
So technically, He Who Finds a Wife is supposed to be the male version of God Where's My Boaz. I just didn't call it God Where's My Roof because I figured God's not going to connect with that. That's not going to make sense to them. He Who Finds a Wife connects more.
Sure. I'm going to write it then.
So for anybody out there listening, just to throw it, because City Fan, this isn't a Christian podcast. This isn't an abstinent podcast. It's for anyone listening. There's principles that we're talking about that definitely we believe, at least I believe, work. And where's I going with this?
You're trying to, let everybody know they can tune in.
Yeah, how many readers of your books are non-believers or people not of faith? Because I see so much practicality in it, like you said. Do you get a lot of your audience and even your clients? Are they people that aren't of faith, or is it a lot of people just of faith?
I want to say most are of faith, but there are a good portion that are not. So I have gotten messages from people saying, you know what, I'm not even a believer, but I love what you wrote in the book. I still found it, applicable to what I'm doing. I've even had clients who were atheists, and they know where I stand, but they understand. I know how to speak to you with leaving that out of the equation. And again, speaking to where you're at and still trying to help you move to a better place in your life. So I've had clients of all kinds of backgrounds, and they're all comfortable with me. They all don't have a problem. I even have good friends who are atheists, to be honest with you. And, that's what they'll say about me is that I just have a respect for people, and I understand we're not going to always be all the same place, right. But that doesn't mean there's not a purpose for us having a relationship or for me being in your life or you being in my life, so on and so forth. the key is to simply not, as far as where I stand, not to allow that to influence how I live my life.
So I guess tell us about your last book, The Man God Has For You.
So The Man God Has For You. So that one, like I said earlier, started off as a quick little free ebook thing, and then made it into a full-length book. And it's just one of those books again where I felt like, okay, I need to now help women navigate through not making the bad choices. Because I think people don't realize bad relationships has a huge domino effect on people's lives. You get into one bad relationship, it can affect your kids, your family, your work. It can now set you up for more bad relationships. Because if you don't heal from that one, I almost guarantee you're going to end up in another bad one.
Yeah.
And it's just this ongoing cycle. So my whole thinking is, okay, if I can help you avoid that, we can change the whole dynamic. Right. And not just that, like some men will come out and say, oh, you speak more to women, or you're not speaking to men enough. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. I'm actually helping you by speaking to them. Because the man who gets hurt and used by the woman, he's not getting hurt and used by a healed woman. Right. It's an unhealed woman who's been through enough BS that now she doesn't care about what damage she does to somebody else. So if I can heal her and help her avoid the damage, she won't be out here damaging any guy. Right. So it helps everybody.
It creates the environment.
Exactly. So it's a bigger picture thing. I view this as, okay, there's an ultimate goal here. But again, as I said earlier, these are pieces to the puzzle, and I can't address everything all at once. Right. But it's all working towards both men and women having healthier, happier relationships and not being damaged anymore.
Yeah, I love what you said about helping them by speaking to the women. So I'm pretty vocal about women, lock it up. Like, do not let men in so easily. You are the one that's in control of the sex. Don't give it out until a man proves his intentions to you through action, which to me is the ultimate form of action is marriage. Because anybody can say whatever they want, and they might even mean it when they say it, but if you'll sign the contract, you really mean it, because you know that that's going to cause you pain if you're wrong. So a lot of times I'll tell women to do that, and then women, even are like, why are you putting all the responsibility on us? And I'm like, look, ultimately, or men will even sometimes, give me that argument, but ultimately I'm trying to help the men too, because if a woman does understand her worth, guard her heart, lock it up, and understand that is, the big thing that she's in control over coming into a relationship. 99 times out of 100, a woman is going to say when we have sex. Occasionally a man will do it, I guess, but very rarely. But if a woman does that, then she helps the man, because what happens is people fall into something that I call the sex trap, where a woman gives you sex early, you take it, and then all of a sudden you get connected, like we talked about, and now you're in something, 1 foot in, 1 foot out with somebody that you should have never been in with, just because she was willing to give you the sex early. And you're, as a man, you have to be so smart to not take that, because it's like, what? There's nothing even being required of me. Why wouldn't I have sex? So I love that you by helping women, coaching women, and writing books for women, that you're ultimately helping men in the process. So tell people, where can they find you? Social media channels, where can they get your books, all that?
Social media, Stephan Speaks, Stephan Speaks. That's on Instagram, Twitter. Facebook is Stephan Speaks Relationships, and then my website, www.stephanspeaks.com.
Awesome.
You're taking clientele?
Yes, I am.
And they can connect with you?
They come to my website, or they can go to coachingwithstephan.com. And from there, they can book a session and have some one-on-one time with them.
Man, this was awesome, Stephan. This was such a pleasure. I'm really grateful that you came on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, this was absolutely excellent. Thanks for coming out.
I enjoyed it.